Welcome to Fun Activities in 5. This week, I want to talk to you about a zero prep activity that you can do with any level and any text. It's a great activity to do differentiation with. It's also a great activity to drive critical and creative thinking skills. So, I'm going to take my text that we are doing in 7th grade. I would do this with my story up on my screen. You could also do this with a story printed on paper. It could make a really good sub plan once your students understand how this activity works. So, as I go through my story up on my screen, I usually do 1 to 2 sentences at a time. We read through it, we circle it, we ask comprehension check questions, etc. Once I get through about a paragraph or so of text, I put a timer up on the board for 2 minutes. I also put a list on the board of our question words: who, what, when, where, why, how, in Spanish. And I give students 2 minutes to write down as many questions as they can, using as many different question words as they can in that 2 minutes about what we just read in the story. They can write anything they want to, as long as it is answerable in the story. I do have to remind my students that you can't say, like, what is the character's grandmother's name? We don't know that. What's her favorite pizza? We also don't know that. It's got to be answerable reasonably in the story. So we do that every paragraph or so of text. So every 8 to 10-ish sentences, I put that timer up there, 2 minutes with the question words. As that 2 minutes is happening, I'm going around and I'm looking at students' papers. I'm giving them reminders of things like, hey, I see you've written a lot of who questions, can questions. Can you write a when question for me? I see a lot of why questions. Can you write a where question for me? And kind of challenge them to get through. Now, where the challenge of this activity comes in is by the end of the story. So, this story is somewhere, I think it's about 6 paragraphs total. By the end of the story, I want students to have 2 examples of each type of question: who, what, when, where, why, how. And we're going to go over those questions as a class. So, once the story's done, I'm going to pick on Susie and I'm going to say, Susie, tell me your can questions. And Susie's going to read those questions. And it might be, who is the main character? Okay, if on your paper you have who is the main character, cross it out. Who is the character's brother? Oh, if you have that question, cross it out. And our goal is going to be to get through as many can questions as we can to find the most unique questions and the most challenging questions. So we want students to think creatively and outside of the box, but still using those guidelines of who, what, when, where, why, how questions, so that they're thinking on those deeper levels, but also thinking creatively. At the end, I do give usually something really easy, like a sticker prize, to students that have the most unique questions that nobody else has. Because the goal is you want to have a question that nobody else in the class has. We'll go through who, we'll go through what, we'll go through when, we'll go through where, we'll go through why, we'll go through how. And at the end, I'm able to really clearly see, oh, it looks like everybody has mastered who questions. It looks like everybody has mastered how questions, but I only heard one when question, and it looked like we all wrote the same when question. What is a when question? And it becomes a great opportunity for me to remind students what questions are asking for and what answers we can give for questions. I teach a middle school, so especially like my 6th and 7th graders, a lot of times questions like when questions are really hard because they think the answer to a when question has to be March 2nd. They forget that a when question could be a time on the clock, that a when question could be a before or an after, that a when question could be a first, second, third. There are lots of ways to answer every kind of question. So those are good reminders for me to give. It's also a good place for me to correct when I see things like people are saying, who is the brother? And they say, the brother is tall. Okay, well, we heard brother. We made an association with brother, but a who question means we need a person answer. So it's a great way to kind of review those basic things that they need to know and still celebrate their creativity and their success with content. So who, what, when, where, why, how question challenge is a great activity to use with any text. You can pull it out with basically no prep, or you could do that little prep that I do with a timer and the question words on your screen to break up your story. But it's a great way to push your students creatively and to push their thinking and deeper thinking skills, and can come in handy as a great sub plan at the end. I hope that you enjoyed today's activity, and I will see you next time.